welcome. So I'm going to do a live. Yeah, today is really hot. We have a lot of stuff going on today. Today's testimony is just raised more questions than answers. Attorney General Pam Bondi appeared before the House Judiciary Committee this morning. And yes, the Epstein files came up again. Lawmakers pressed her on transparency and what's been released and what has not, whether the American people are getting the full truth. So what did she actually say? So let's just go ahead and continue on. I am late. This is a pre-recorded video, and it's taken from the Forbes breaking news. So let's get started. This is 6 minutes, so it's not going to be long. However, if I do need to go back in to get the full video, which will be an hour and some minutes, then I'll do so. Okay.
General Bondi, right here. We are joined in this room by some of the thousands of survivors from Jeffrey Epstein's horrific sex trafficking reign. They have shown such incredible courage in speaking out, in demanding accountability to bring the predators and pedophiles to justice. The Epstein Files Transparency Act required your Department of Justice to disclose the perpetrators connected with Epstein's criminal activities and to redact the information of survivors to protect their identities. Let me show you what actually happened. First, in violation of the law, your department has shown a pattern of redacting the names of powerful predators. Here behind me is one example of an email from Epstein to a man whose name was redacted. The email reads, quote, "Where are you? Are you okay? I loved the torture video."
Wow. That's
Only
what happened.
after members of Congress demanded that we see the unredacted files did the world learn the name of this individual, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, the chairman and CEO of a company that had financial ties to President Trump's business and personal ties to Trump's advisor, Steve Bannon. Second, the survivors were not similarly protected, also in violation of the law. Here is another email titled Epstein Victim List. We have blurred the names of the survivors for their protection, but your Department of Justice initially released this list of 32 survivors' names with only one name redacted, along with numerous files that disclose not only the names, the emails, and the addresses of survivors, but also nude photographs. And
Wow, she is out with a force. I tell ya, she's ready to throw those fire darts straight at Pam Bondi. I tell you, she is not too happy, and I'm, you know what? Listen, I'm conservative. I voted Trump, and I'm not ashamed of it. However, when you are doing a job, you got to answer. So she's putting it out there. Right now, I am just reacting. So I love this. I just love it. She's coming out with darts.
even the
I just hope it doesn't backfire.
identities of Jane Does who had been protected for decades until your department released their names. Survivors are now telling us that their families are finding out for the first time that they were trafficked by Epstein.
Oh my God. That's weird. She's coming out with darts. That's weird. Anyway, let me just go back.
In their words, quote, "This release does not provide closure. It feels like a deliberate attempt to intimidate survivors, punish those who came forward, and reinforce the same culture of secrecy that allowed Epstein's crimes to continue for decades. To the survivors in the room, if you are willing, please stand.
Well, what's the difference?
And if you are willing, please raise your hands if you have still not been able to meet with this Department of Justice. Please know for the record that every single survivor has raised their hand. Attorney General Bondi, you apologized to the survivors in your opening statement for what they went through at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. Will you turn to them now and apologize for what your Department of Justice has put them through with the absolutely unacceptable release of the Epstein files and their information?
Congresswoman, you sat before, Merrick Garland sat in this chair twice.
Attorney General
Twice.
Bondi.
No, can I finish my answer?
No, I'm going to reclaim my time because I asked you.
No.
And I would
Respond to the
like
question.
him to
You gotta
answer,
let
which
Pam
is, will
talk. Gotta let Pam talk now. You came out like fire. Ready to scorch up the whole committee. So let's hear what Pat has to say now. I wouldn't take that. Back down. Cool it. Take a chill pill. Let's hear what Pam has to say.
turn to the survivors. This is not about anybody that came before you. It is about you taking responsibility for your Department of Justice and the harm that it has done to the survivors who are standing right behind you and are waiting for you to turn to them and apologize for what your Department of Justice has done.
Members get to ask the questions, the witness gets to answer in the way they want to answer. The Attorney General can
That's
respond.
not accurate, Mr. Chairman.
Because she
It
doesn't
is
like the
my
answer.
time.
So,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
why
I have asked
didn't
a
she ask
question.
Merrick Garland this?
I am
Twice,
reclaiming
when he
my
sat in
time,
my
and
chair.
when I
will
reclaim my
continue to
time,
answer.
it
I'm
is
Mr. Chairman,
time.
the gentlelady's
I'm
reclaiming
not going
time.
to get in the gutter for her theatrics.
The time
Yes.
belongs to the gentlelady. The gentlelady has 17 seconds.
Thank you. You're not going to answer this question, so let me just say
Chairman, I'll
this.
direct it to
What a
you.
massive
No, I'm
cover-up.
answering a question.
Chairman, will you restore her time? The
I'm
witness
not
is
going to
interrupted.
get in the gutter with this woman.
Stop the
She's
time.
doing theatrics.
Let me have my time.
The gentlelady from Washington
Cat
controls the time.
fight.
The gentlelady has 17
It's a
seconds.
cat
You can
fight.
proceed with your final
Thank you.
17 seconds.
What a
This is
massive
not funny,
cover-up
people.
this
This is serious, and I hate cat fights
Donald
right
Trump
now.
made the release of the Epstein files the center of his political campaign because he thought it would benefit him. Then you got into office, Attorney General, claimed to have a client list, only
Regular
to
order.
then say that there was no list. Your deputy,
Time-
Todd
time of
Blanche,
the-
met alone
time of the
with
gentlelady
Ghislaine
has-
Maxwell
time of the
and
gentlelady has
transferred her
expired.
to a minimum security prison. And now you continue
The
the
time of the
cover-up,
gentlelady
and I
has
wish
expired.
that you would turn around to the survivors who are standing right behind you and on a human level,
Chairman,
You're now
apologizing.
recognized.
So this is why. So this piece was only directed for the media, and you notice it did not give Pam Bondi time to speak. So I am going to look quickly to see if I could get another clip. I am so sorry I came on late. Let's see. Wow, she didn't give Pat Bondi a moment. She didn't give Pam Bondi a moment at all. This is Cohen. Wow, that was tough. That was really, really, really nasty. And you know what? I can't understand why they have this kidnap thing every minute. It's on this kidnap thing. I mean, anyway, So, what I would come out saying here is that Pam Bondi testified before the House of the Judiciary Committee primarily regarding oversight of the Justice Department. During questioning, members of Congress raised some concerns: the status of Jeffrey Epstein investigation and records. You know, she wants an answer, and she's fighting her down. I think this was more directed for the media and for their portrayal of Pam Bondi not answering the question. Let me see.
Whoa.
What's that?
I just built a budgeting app in Base 44.
Guys, Nina just built an app.
Impossible. Nina can't code. Interesting. Can it generate reports?
It can now.
I'm going to recess for votes.
Okay.
I'm submitting for unanimous consent a document of 17 individuals.
Okay, so what I'm going to do.
President.
Okay, here we go.
Order of removal from a court where this individual or this individual's committed some removable offense. But on February 28th, 2025, Abraham Gonzalez is released to the streets. In fact, we can put that up.
Wait, I just hope this is not.
Released.
This
We
is
got
the correct
form
thing.
from the Denver Justice Center.
Okay.
What kind of inmate was Mr. Gonzalez for those 345 days that he was in the Denver Justice Center? We have that too.
Okay, so this is
Violence in
also
the staff, keep separate.
this is also questions on the Minnesota ruckus, chaos. So what I'm going to do, I'm not focusing on that. I am more focusing on the Epstein files. So let's just see if I could skimmage through it.
Adjusted into the practices of using the FACE Act to target pro-life Americans. They've refused to tolerate attacks on place.
But after 5 months of investigating Letitia James and James Comey,
Whew, I better
you
stay on
found no
it.
evidence to justify criminal charges.
I think I'll stay
You
on
forced
that.
him out. You replaced him with Lindsay Halligan, Trump's personal lawyer from the Mar-a-Lago documents case, who had zero prosecutorial experience and no qualifications. And then you were humiliated when a federal judge found that this corrupt appointment was blatantly unlawful and threw out Halligan's indictments entirely. And grand juries of American citizens have repeatedly rejected your vendettas and baseless indictments brought by the hacks left at DOJ now, with 2 different grand juries in Virginia voting down indictments against Letitia James in a single week. And just yesterday, another grand jury shut down your vendetta factory by rejecting indictments against the 6 members of Congress who had spoken out to remind all service members that they have a duty to refuse illegal orders. You tried to get a grand jury to indict 6 members of Congress who are veterans of our armed forces on charges of seditious conspiracy simply for exercising their First Amendment rights. I hope you will heed the wisdom and the constitutional patriotism of those grand jurors and not try it again by doubling down on that humiliation. As your best lawyers are sacked for having participated in the January 6th case, or just flee for the exits.
I tell you, it's war. It's war. It's like they out to get her. So let's just continue on. She better be ready.
Now, your new lawyers keep lying in court. In dozens of cases, they've been excoriated for lying to federal judges. Chief Judge Boasberg, right here in D.C., suggested your Department of Justice perpetrated a fraud on the court. Other judges found your statements to be, quote, inexplicably misleading, patently incredible, totally inconsistent, and so disingenuous that the court is left with little confidence that the government can be trusted to tell the truth about anything. Now, as ranking member, I asked the chairman to add a few extra rounds of questions today because we each have 5 hours of questions, not 5 minutes, but we're stuck with 5 minutes. That's clearly insufficient to give voice to America's victims and survivors and to demand answers about all the corruption and cover-ups that we see at DOJ right now. We've got just one round, so we ask you politely but firmly, Madam Attorney General, please do not waste 1 second of our precious time by evading questions, by changing the subject, or engaging in personal attacks against members of Congress. We saw your performance in the Senate, and we're not going to accept that. This isn't a game. In the Senate, you brought something with you called a burn book, a binder of smears to attack members personally for doing the people's work of oversight. Please set the burn book aside and answer our questions, and when you hear us reclaim our time, that means it's time for you to stop speaking. We only have 5 minutes, so when we reclaim our time, that means you stop. And if you don't, we will ask the chair to stop the clock and let you go on his time. The quality of justice in America depends on the character of our government. Please do your job and bring the Department of Justice back from the...
Yeah, we do have to talk about the character of the government. It's all around. It's all around. Everybody's character is questionable right now. Every single one of them. Every single one.
The survivors seated behind you and the American people watching everywhere deserve a Department of Justice worthy of its name. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Without objection, all of the opening statements will be included in the record. We will now introduce today's witness. The Honorable Pamela J. Bondi has served as the Attorney General of the United States since February 5th, 2025. She previously served in the Office of the White House Counsel, 2 terms as the Florida Attorney General, and spent more than 18 years as a prosecutor. We welcome our witness and thank her for appearing today. We will begin by swearing you in. Would you please rise and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief, so help you God?
I do.
Let the record show that the witness has answered in the affirmative. Thank you. You can be seated. And please know that your written testimony will be entered into the record in its entirety. Accordingly, we ask that you summarize your testimony. Madam Attorney General, you may begin.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Jordan, Ranking Member Raskin, and distinguished members of this committee. Thank you for hosting me here today. I'm grateful for the opportunity to answer your questions, highlight the work of our department, and discuss the most important topic of all, keeping the American people safe. A little over a year ago, I was sworn into office as the 87th Attorney General of the United States. I came into office with the goal of refocusing the Department of Justice on its core mission after years of bloated bureaucracy and political weaponization. The Department of Justice's core mission is to fight violent crime, protect the American people, and defend the rule of law above all else. While our work is never done, we have made tremendous progress to make America safe again. In 2025, we saw the lowest murder rate in 125 years. That's nothing short of historic.
My gosh.
Carjacking down 43%. Gun assault down 22%. Ag assault, burglary, could go on and on. Crime is declining.
Very
This
good.
did not happen by accident. The numbers tell an important yet straightforward story. President Trump has given us the resources, the support, and the leadership to protect the American people. President Trump's policies have saved lives. I cannot think of a policy outcome more important than protecting the lives of American citizens. Can you? This trend has been especially clear in Washington, D.C. and in Memphis. These are two iconic American cities that spent years in the grip of horrific violent crime. The Department of Justice surged law enforcement resources, and the results came quickly. Crime plummeted in both cities. And I want to make one point loud and clear. We achieved those results by working with Democratic mayors. Public safety does not have a party registration. When your constituents call 911, they don't ask for political views of the responding
Okay, so
officer.
I want to get to the hot
They ask for
stuff.
help.
She's right
I
now
have federal
giving a
agents
summary
in
of what
each
she
and every
has achieved during her being in office from February 2025. More interested in getting into the more meat of this testimony. So let's see if I can just go further.
Adjudication may be going on because of places like my home state, California. You're unable to apprehend people that my sheriffs want apprehended. They desperately want to cooperate, and they're prohibited by law. It is this committee's opinion on this side of the aisle that, in fact, you should be given the ability to demand that participation, and that the release of a known criminal not be considered to be acceptable just because a state or city has declared itself a sanctuary. I want you to opine on just one thing that I think has been misunderstood. As I said earlier, you create and maintain those judges that adjudicate these cases. You also support so many that, in fact, have to make decisions as judges. Knowing that this limitation of so few Article 3 judges are there, please educate those who seem to miss the point that Article 1 judges, including bankruptcy judges, including immigration judges, including lots of people with the title appropriately judge, do in fact issue documents that look like, act like, and are normally accepted as warrants, as subpoenas, as demands for state officials to stand aside and allow the production of either an individual or documents. Because I think people are missing the point that these ICE retainers and detainers and so on, they act like they're nothing, when in fact in the ordinary course, Madam General, you do in fact have Article 1 judges constantly putting those out, and they are respected normally.
Thank you, Congressman, for talking about all the great judges. And if I could add one thing to that, we are always recruiting and looking for judges. So please reach out to our office for these judges who are handling all these very important matters. We've even added some JAG officers as immigration judges.
Thank you.
And so we're continuing to do that, but we're always seeking qualified lawyers as well to be part of that. And thank you for highlighting that, Congressman.
Thank you. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentlelady from Washington is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Attorney General Bondi, right here. We are joined
Okay.
in this room by some of the thousands
Okay, we
of
just
survivors
did
from
that.
Jeffrey
So
Epstein's horrific
I
sex trafficking ring. They have shown such incredible courage in speaking out.
we just witnessed that clip, and I would have to say probably that's the only time that she was pressed for information on the Epstein files. Now remember, this is a House Judiciary Committee meeting, so she's going to be questioned upon the ICE the ICE arrest that was made a couple of months ago, or a month ago, or a couple of weeks ago. And she's also going to be dealing with other stuff that deals with the the judiciary. Okay, so, or the lawmakers. So the lawmakers are pressing her right now on transparency. I now wanted to focus on the Epstein files, just as yesterday when Secretary Lotnick had his testimony in front of the Commerce Committee. Okay, so let's just go ahead. So I'm going to skim through because we just did. Okay, should we just do it? I think I should just leave it alone, and then we can move from there. Okay. So let's go.
Of the survivors for their protection, but your Department of Justice initially released this list of 32 survivors' names with only one name redacted, along with numerous files that disclose not only the names, the emails, and the addresses of survivors, but also nude photographs and even the identities of Jane Does who had been protected for decades until your department released their names. Survivors are now telling us that their families are finding out for the first time that they were trafficked by Epstein. In their words, quote, "This release does not provide closure. It feels like a deliberate attempt to intimidate survivors, punish those who came forward, and reinforce the same culture of secrecy that allowed Epstein's crimes to continue for decades." To the survivors in the room, if you are willing, please stand. And if you are willing, please raise your hands if you have still not been able to meet with this Department of Justice. Please know for the record that every single survivor has raised their hand.
I don't know what to say about this. I think I should just wait. Okay. The thing is, let me just.
Attorney General Bondi, you apologize to the survivors in your opening statement for what they went through at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. Will you turn to them now and apologize for what your Department of Justice has put them through with the absolutely unacceptable release of the Epstein files and their information?
Congresswoman, you sat before, Merrick Garland sat in this chair twice.
Attorney General
Twice.
Bondi.
No, can I finish my answer?
No, I'm going to reclaim my time because I asked you a
Attorney General,
specific
yes, sir.
question
Attorney General
that I
can
would
respond to the
like
question.
him to answer, which is, will you turn to the survivors? This is not about anybody that came before you. It is about you taking responsibility.
So I believe that this is all media prone. Yes, I agree with her, right? She deserves to answer that question, but at least let her answer the question. Give her time. That's the way you communicate with people. Now, these people are highly educated, aren't they? These are lawyers, right? They know about the due process. They know about letting a person speak and then, continuing on. But give her time, man. Oh my gosh. Jesus, have mercy. Sorry, guys. I gotta tone it down.
For your Department of Justice and the harm that it has done to the survivors who are standing right behind you and are waiting for you to turn to them and apologize for what your Department of Justice has done.
Members get to ask the questions, the witness gets to answer in the way they want to answer. The Attorney General can
That's
respond.
not accurate, Mr. Chairman.
Because she
It
doesn't
is
like the
my
answer.
time.
So,
Mr. Chairman,
why
I have asked
didn't
a
she ask
question.
Merrick Garland this?
I am
twice
reclaiming
when he
my
sat in my
time, and
chair.
when I
will
reclaim my
continue
time,
to answer.
it
Mr.
is-
Chairman, the gentlelady's
I'm
reclaimed
not
her
going
time.
to get in the gutter for her theatrics.
The time belongs to the,
Good.
time belongs to the
Good.
gentlelady. The gentlelady has 17 seconds.
Thank you. You're not going to answer this question, so let me just say
Chairman,
this.
I'll direct it to
What a
you.
massive
No, I'm
cover-up.
answering a
Mr.
question.
Chairman, will you restore her time? The
I'm
witness
not
is
going to get in
interrupting.
the gutter with this woman.
Stop the
She's
time.
doing theatrics.
Let me have my time.
The gentlelady from Washington controls the time. The gentlelady has 17 seconds. You can proceed
Oh,
with your
Jesus
final statement.
Christ.
What a massive cover-up this has been and continues to be. Donald Trump made the release of the Epstein files the center of his political campaign because he thought it would benefit him. Then you got into office, Attorney General.
They love Donald
claimed to
Trump
have a
so
client
much,
list.
man. Oh
I'm
my
going to
God.
say that there was no list. Your deputy,
Time-
Todd
time of
Blanche,
the-
met alone
time of the
with
gentlelady
Ghislaine
has-
Maxwell
time of the
and
gentlelady has
transferred
expired.
her to a minimum security prison. And now you continue the
time of the
cover-up.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
wish
Expired.
that you would turn around to the survivors who are standing right behind you and on a human level.
Chairman,
Chair now
apologize
recognizes the
on what you
gentlelady.
have done.
Time of the
I
gentlelady
yield
expired.
back.
The gentlelady, you have no time to yield back.
Theatrics.
We appreciate that. We appreciate the thought. And I would argue the central issue in the last election, the presidential election, was securing the border. The gentleman from Arizona who knows something about securing the border is up for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Attorney General Bondi, for being here today. In 2022, Lafarge, which is a French cement company, pled guilty in U.S. federal court to participating in a criminal conspiracy with ISIS. That conspiracy contributed to the deaths of U.S. service members fighting in Syria during Operation Inherent Resolve. As part of the plea agreement, Lafarge was required to pay more than $775.
So what you just witnessed there was what you call, and there's a name for it, the Trump derangement syndrome. A non-clinical term used mostly in politic discourse. Because once she mentioned Donald Trump's name, she went on a different tone, higher pitch, and more emotional duress. She went off. So, yeah, we just witnessed that. She did not give Pam Bondi time to speak. So we're going to continue on.
$5 million. The DOJ colleagues and I sent you a letter urging the department to review the petitions for remission submitted by the families of those fallen service members, including several of my constituents. The previous administration ignored these victims and our requests and left their petitions unresolved. My question for you on this particular issue is if you're willing to work to ensure those families that their petitions will be reviewed and brought to a resolution.
Congressman, we are aware of that, and we're committed to doing everything we can to support the victims and work with you. Thank you for that question.
Yeah, appreciate your answer. And now let's go to something that is also pressing that I've been working on for years, and this is the FISA Section 702 and Arctic frost. In January 2025, you testified before the U.S. Senate and agreed with Senator DeLee that, quote, anytime an American citizen's private communications are intercepted or stored, whether through incidental collection or otherwise, those communications should not be searched without some showing of probable cause, close quote. You still hold that view today, I assume.
Yes.
And during the most recent FISA reauthorization, I offered an amendment to establish a clear warrant requirement for searches of Americans' data while preserving every publicly cited operational exception, including emergencies, defensive queries, cybersecurity threats. And my intent was to ensure the Department of Justice could continue to keep Americans safe while also ending warrantless searches of U.S. persons' data. Are there any additional circumstances or exceptions that you believe must be included to ensure DOJ can continue to operate effectively while still protecting American citizens' data and privacy?
Yeah, Congressman, we are committed to working with Congress to uncover weaponization and other misconduct by Jack Smith, by others, Arctic frost, everything that happened under the past administration. And we are committed to working with you on that. And we are working with Chairman Jordan with the House Intel, with all of our, my fellow cabinet members on resolving that issue.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you brought up Arctic frost because Section 702.
Okay, so as I said
Arctic
again,
frost investigation,
I am covering
the information derived was used.
testimony more geared towards the Epstein files. So I'm going to skim through again. As I said, I am going to skim through this because it's an hour and almost 2 hours. So let's hear what this guy has to
Because
say.
Halligan was illegally put into the role. But your department was undeterred. Not once, but twice, you tried to indict Attorney General James in separate courts. Both grand juries rejected you.
Talking about Letitia James, I don't want to even go on that topic, to tell you the honest truth.
And refused to indict her. It is practically unheard of.
Time of the gentleman
None of
has
the perpetrators
expired.
were brought to justice, but enormous resources
Time
were
of the
dedicated to
gentleman has
pursuing Trump's
expired, and
It's
obviously
clear that under your leadership, the Department of Justice
there was
no longer
no
works
question
for
in
American
there.
people. It works
Order
for Donald
respond to.
Trump.
Parent president in the nation's history. The murder rate, as I said, has plummeted to a 125-year low thanks to Donald Trump. For an unprecedented 9 straight months, there were 0 illegal border crossings at the southern border.
It is not possible. So
Okay.
I'd like to ask a straightforward question that really is either a yes or no answer. Do these emails constitute credible evidence, not proof, but credible evidence warning further investigation into whether Steve Tisch was involved in Epstein's criminal conduct?
Great. So this is one that we're going to keep. I'm going to just go back because I think the men, and I'm sorry to be a little chauvinistic here or a little biased, but I think men would evade the question on Epstein. I think the women might be a little more forward. So let's just hear what this senator has to say.
The American public and the Epstein survivors, some of whom, of course, are here today, that we can have a transparent conversation and get the public the answers they deserve. I want to briefly direct your attention to 2 documents I'm hoping we will put up on the screen. In the first, an individual emails Jeffrey Epstein asking whether a woman identified as M was pro or civilian, and Epstein responds that she was a civilian, Russian, and fun. In the second email, Epstein writes to Steve Tisch about a Ukrainian girl, noting that she was, quote, a little freaked out by the age difference and stating that he would try to convince her not to return to Ukraine. He then instructs Mr. Tisch to call him, adding, "I don't like records of these conversations." So I'd like to ask a straightforward question that really is either a yes or no answer. Do these emails constitute credible evidence, not proof, but credible evidence warning further investigation into whether Steve Tisch was involved in Epstein's criminal conduct? You think yes or no?
I'm not going to play a yes-no game with you, but I will answer the question to the best of my ability. As I said, we will look and investigate any case involving any victim. I'm not familiar, there were 3 million pages, of course, with that email, but of course, we will look into anything. The documents have been released, 3 million, the redacted versions, we left them open for all of you to come view. Have you? I believe you view them. If not, will you have some copies?
I'd like to.
Could I finish, please? I'm not being rude. Please.
I only have 5 minutes.
No, yeah, and I only have 30 seconds based on your filibuster.
But you didn't give
Time
a yes or no answer. So let me just go further. Director Patel testified in this committee room that there was no credible information indicating that Epstein trafficked victims to anyone else. In glancing at the documents, that's not the case. In July, your department issued a memo stating that it had conducted an exhaustive review of the Epstein files and concluded that no additional individuals would be charged. So I did go over to the Department of Justice yesterday. I would note that 400 and all our 35 members are in the House, and there's 4 computers. So it would take many months to actually have the time. I only had a few hours. I think the transparency argument is really kind of a sham because it's not really.
Whoa. Did you have to wait to get
It
a
is
computer?
not possible to really go in. I did, however, see a U.S. Attorney information for the Southern District of New York indicating that there were additional
crazy, right?
survivors and probable co-conspirators. Other members of Congress have uncovered likely co-conspirators whose names were blocked out. Now, the Epstein File Transparency Act, which all but one member of this House voted for and the President signed, requires the department to release everything except that it needs to be redacted to protect the victims or an ongoing prosecution, which apparently there is none from the testimony we have received. I am concerned that this act has not been fully complied with. When Director Patel came to the committee, he admitted that up to 1,000 FBI agents had gone through the files and redacted President Trump's name from them. And it's pretty clear that what has been transmitted from the FBI continues to redact President Trump's name, even though he is mentioned, thousands of times in these files. So I think the credibility of the department in terms of complying with the act has been damaged. And I think the department's credibility has been damaged in other ways. I think we all saw the horrible video of American citizens being killed by ICE agents in Minneapolis. And I think how the department has handled these cases raises a lot of doubt about the department. State and local police in Minnesota got a court order to get access to the crime scene to be sure evidence would be properly preserved by federal agents. But they took the agents defied the court order, and in a departure from general policy, the DOJ is not collaborating with state and local law enforcement on these homicides. So I really think that is a disgraceful approach to the homicides of American citizens, and really does nothing to bring credit to your department. And Mr. Chairman, I would yield back.
General yields back.
May I answer?
Attorney General can respond.
I find it interesting that she keeps going after President Trump, the greatest president in American history. And if they could maintain their composure, this isn't a circus. This is a...
Spectrum Mobile helps us stay connected because when I'm on the road,
She said it. She said it. It's not a circus. And it's oh my gosh. It's not a circus. I told you it's the Trump derangement syndrome. And they're not even letting her speak. And, the whole thing about this senator is that she said there's only 4 computers in her department and there's 35 persons. So you mean in this day and age that there's only 4 computers in a department? You telling me in this day and age you don't have a laptop or a tablet to work with to get the information that you need? That shows that there's not much homework being involved in this whole process. So let's just go on.
Spectrum Mobile keeps us connected and it's so important to our marriage.
Okay.
Regular order, please.
She
Regular
posted
order.
nothing on her X account,
Gentle
on
lady.
her Twitter account during the Biden years.
Gentle lady.
And yet now, all of a sudden,
Question
she's
asked.
going after
Committee will be in
point of
order.
There was no
files.
question
Shame on
asked,
you.
Attorney General. She doesn't just get to speak.
Committee will be in order.
I have a point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Committee will be in order.
Point of order, Mr.
Gentle
Chairman.
lady can state her point of order.
I love
When a
this.
witness attacks,
Not a valid point of order. You got to state.
She hasn't completed her point of order yet. Please let her speak, Mr. Chairman. Let's have some regular order
Got it.
here.
Regular order is you got to state the rule. And
I
she's
am
gonna do
trying to make a point of order that the witness,
it. What
without
rule are you referring to?
without responding to a question, has attacked me personally. I think it's pathetic. that she can't answer the questions and
First
instead
time
is
that
attacking
is not even close
members
to a
of the
point of
committee.
order. The gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized.
In August of last year, I sent a letter to the Department of Justice asking for assistance in seeking compensation for the town of Lac du Flambeau. The town of Lac du Flambeau is in my district, and your office replied that it was an ongoing matter and unable to comment on it, which I understand. That's just fine. I want to set this up just as a reminder. So 3 years ago, it was at this time of year that 4 roads were blockaded in the town of Lac du Flambeau, and the temperature was 25 below zero.
Okay, guys, so I said I was going to skip everything that is not pertaining to the Epstein files. So every time I have a senator come on to ask Pam Bondi any questions not pertaining to the Epstein files, I'll skim through the video. Okay, so I'm skimming through right now. Remember, this is live. Let's see if he asks anything else.
Our governor in Wisconsin, we're right across the border there. My district is only 20 miles from the city of Minneapolis. And I asked him to open the books for a federal audit on food stamps and Medicaid. Don't you think it would be a good idea for every governor to do that at this point?
It protects the citizens, and I can't understand why that's not happening. And yes, I do think that's a great idea. It's happening around this country. And when our new division with Colin McDonald is established, it's established. When Colin is confirmed, he's amazing. I think you've met with him, you said, Chairman. When that is established, we're going to work on both sides of the aisle. That's what we want to do, to stop fraud in every city, in every state in this country. We will continue to fight for the American
So
people.
you would encourage every governor across the United States, after what we have seen in Minnesota, what we almost certainly know is happening in other states, you mentioned California, you would agree that every governor should avail themselves of federal resources to make sure that this industrial scale fraud is rooted out to protect the taxpayers of the United States. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Tennessee is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I'd like to thank you for holding this hearing and holding it in a proper fashion as you have. Secondly, I'd like to thank all of the victims of the Epstein case who've come here to attend this hearing, for doing it and for being brave and trying to move this justice forward. I apologize, I can't do it, but the Attorney General not recognizing it as embarrassing. I am from Memphis, General Bondi, and Memphis does have the task force there. The Memphis Safe Task Force has been operating in Memphis for several months, and we do have a Democratic Mayor, Paul Young, and he's not against the task force, but he is against ICE being in Memphis. He's not in favor of the National Guard being in Memphis.
Chairman, we will always protect our churches and the freedom of religion. And yes, that's accurate.
First right mentioned under the First Amendment, freedom of religion, freedom to practice your faith the way you think the good Lord wants you to, right?
That's right, under the federal government.
And isn't it true that Mr. Lemon met at a shopping center with the rioters who entered City's Church in St. Paul, met with them prior to marching to the church?
He did meet, and this is a pending case right now, so I will only stick to what is in the 4 corners of the unsealed indictment, if I could, Chairman.
Yeah, I'm
There's
focused
a lot more that will come out. But under the 4 corners of the indictment, yes, he did. They had an operation called Operation Pull-Up. They said they were gearing for a resistance. They met in a parking lot, and they caravanned to a church on a Sunday morning when people were worshiping together.
And Mr. Lemon said that he live streamed before entering the church with the rioters. Didn't he say we're going to head to the operation? Didn't he say this on? He said this on camera. Is that right?
Yes, he did.
Yes, Chairman.
Yeah.
And more.
That he was in Minnesota, and that, as you said, they were gearing up for an operation. So you can't do that. This is why this is, I think, so important that this guy be held accountable, and I think why
Yes,
you
he
guys
should.
have charged him and indicted him. Moving to the second subject here, will John Brennan be indicted? Mr. Brennan lied to the committee, which you're not supposed to do, last Congress, and we deposed him. He definitely, 18 U.S.C. 1001, we're all familiar with it. He lied to the committee, and the committee, the Congress, and I think the country would like to know, if in fact he's going to be indicted for lying to, and here's why it's so important. I'll give you a chance to respond. Here's why it's so important. It wasn't just that he lied to us, it's what he lied to us about. He lied to us about when all this weaponization against the President of the United States started. He lied to us about the dossier, and specifically what role the dossier played in the intelligence community assessment. Because we know back when President Trump was first elected, first term, this is when it all started, which led to the Mueller and to the impeachment and to the Jack Smith and all the stuff that's happened in the last decade. But it began here, and he lied to Congress about the role he played. And I just want to read a couple of things he said during that deposition before I give you a chance to respond. Mr. Brennan, when asked a question, said the CIA was not involved at all with the dossier. He said it was their purview, FBI's purview, and not ours. He also said the CIA was very much opposed to having any reference or inclusion of the Steele dossier in the intelligence community assessment. That's interesting because declassified information that was declassified
Okay,
this
so
past summer.
here's another skim. So I'm going to have to skim because, as I said again, I am only interested in her response concerning the Epstein file.
This is the same party who, just a few years ago, were openly supporting strong immigration enforcement after witnessing criminal illegal aliens wreak havoc on the American communities.
Okay, I just want to say this quickly. I am only covering the Epstein files responses. So far, we had approximately 2 questions from other senators. So I'm now skimming through because remember, this is a House Judiciary Committee meeting. It has nothing to do, it's just a bunch of questions are going to be shoot at her concerning from the lawmakers of United States about transparency and accountability of things that she has to perform, has performed during her post. So let's continue on.
I have a short video I just wanted to play.
Of immigrants. We're also a nation of laws. Undocumented workers broke our immigration laws. And I
combed through, well, in 2017 and 2018, Adam Schiff and I had our cell phone records and email records combed through, not by you, but a different Department of Justice under the president. It was in retaliation for our role in the Russia interference campaign. An Inspector General report would find this improper and that the predicate for it was absurd. In 2020, after sitting on 2 committees that were a part of the president's first impeachment, an FBI agent leaked my cooperation in a national security case where my campaign was targeted. The president's FBI senior leadership authorized 2 statements to the press that said I was never suspected of wrongdoing and only helped the investigation. But that didn't stop the death threats or my GOP colleagues from referring me to an ethics investigation where Kevin McCarthy's chairman on the ethics committee would find the same thing as the FBI. Our current FBI director would then write a book called Government Gangsters and identify a long list of enemies. About a quarter of them have been either investigated or indicted. He listed me at the very top along with Adam Schiff, and during that same testimony refused to recuse himself when asked if he would recuse if any case came across his desk involving me or people on that list. Since that testimony, his department has put me under investigation with Senator Schiff for the nonsense mortgage fraud cases that we see. I get it.
Let me hear this
is what
one.
the president does. I've priced it in. We have a bingo card.
You
at
mentioned
home that
Adam
kids
Schiff,
have made of what will come
Shifty
next.
Schiff.
I expected that the president would come
You
after
probably
his enemies, but what I
is
want to talk to you
shifty.
next is serious.
Birds of a
I did
feather
not
flock
expect this to
together.
happen, and I'd like your help on it.
Okay.
The president has inspired death threats against me and many sitting up here with me. In June 2025, an individual left 11 voicemails at my district office. On the voicemails, they said, "Get the message to him. I'm gonna hunt him down, that motherfucker, and toss his ass over the Golden Gate Bridge by my fucking self." Donald Trump's Department of Justice in the Northern District of California declined to prosecute. On May 14, 2025, on Twitter, responding to something I posted, an The individual said, "No, it wasn't Eric, and now I'm going to kill you." The Department of Justice from the Southern District of Texas declined to prosecute. May through December of 2025, we received messages at my office that said, "I hope somebody shoots you and your children and your wife in the head. Pew, pew, motherfucker, pew, pew." I would stay indoors as much as possible, and my children, unfortunately, have to do that. The Department of Justice has not charged this individual and cited that he's a prolific caller and has health conditions, although what we have found in our own investigation and his voicemails is that he had
trafficked, all from the drugs. My God. They encourage constituents to go after the ICE agents, to challenge them, to hurt them, to attack them. And that doesn't make sense. That's hypocrisy. And then we hear about the concern of, going after Democrats, that the legal system, that judiciary and Department of Justice is going after Democrats. But they literally rework the legal system under Alvin Bragg and Letitia James to go after Republicans and those sympathetic to Republicans. So, be careful when you accuse others that you're not guilty yourself. Be careful of what you say, because you got a history, and it's easy to go over it. I just want to talk about where we were and where we are now. We had over 10 million illegal crossings in the past between 2020 and 24. Over 10 million. There's probably a much bigger number. I'm being conservative. We were told the people weren't dangerous, but they were, General. They were dangerous, many of them. More than 300 individuals on the terror watch list during that time. Violent criminals came across, as we saw consequences where mothers and fathers, daughters and sons, children were raped, murdered, hurt, abused, beaten, trafficked, all from the drugs. My God, the drugs they brought into our babies in this country. 73,000 illegals with criminal histories, 20,000 with convictions of assault, robbery, and sex offenses, 13,000 convicted murderers in our beautiful country, 15,000 convicted sexual assault offenders. It was madness. It was insanity. It's bizarre. It's perverse. What in God's name were you doing? So we finally are cleaning this up now. We're finally trying to make it right and safe for our people. So my questions are this. General, do you believe in removing criminal illegal aliens from our communities will save American lives?
Yes, and given the cases that you just discussed, that's proof of it every single day. President Trump is committed to that. This entire cabinet is committed to that and making and keeping Americans safe.
Thank you. Would you agree that, and thank you for doing that, would you agree that allowing individuals with known criminal histories to enter and remain in the United States, we knew this back then, they knew it. Would you agree that creates serious risks to our public safety? I know the answers, but let's just say them clearly.
Yes.
Would you agree that when dangerous individuals are released instead of detained, and they were released over and over and over again, and these are the real issues, this is really what America cares about. They want their children and their families to be safe. Do you think if you release them instead of detaining them, that crimes will happen because of that?
Absolutely.
Would you agree that, I'm sorry.
And it did.
And it did, thank you. Would you agree that cooperation between, and this is a biggie, and I'm going to ask you to elaborate on this. This is a big deal. This is why some of the problems we're seeing in some of the places like Minnesota are happening. That cooperation between federal and local enforcement, which we always used to have, helps remove violent offenders from our communities, that we should be a team.
Yes.
And can you elaborate on that a little bit? In other words, when the local enforcement is forced by the politicians, not their fault, not to do their job and not cooperate, why does it create the situations that we see where we have the need for crowds?
Guys, give me a second. Just one thing I want to do here for a second.
We know what a peaceful protester is. When you spit on law enforcement, when you push them, when you hit them, when you beat their car, you can answer the question. Thank you.
Time's expired. You may answer the question.
Thank you. Yes, I spent 4 days myself in Minnesota, in Minneapolis. What I will say about some of these sanctuary cities, some of these democratic cities, law enforcement, they quietly want to work with us. I've spoken to law enforcement in multiple cities who want to work with us. And yes, we're going to do everything we can to keep our citizens Can I finish my answer? Come on, let me finish my answer. We corrected that within 40 minutes. He was already, you're acting like everybody's trying to cover up Wexner's name.
Reclaiming my
I'm
time.
going to answer this question.
Reclaiming my time.
He was,
Mr.
this
Chairman.
isn't how this works.
Can I have my time
He
back?
was,
Mr. Chairman.
The gentlelady can give her answer. The time belongs to the gentleman from.
All right, I'm reclaiming my
Can I
time.
give my answer?
So, I'm going to put the language of the bill up on the screen.
Chairman,
Because I
may I
have
give
another
my answer
question.
on that?
Here's
It's a political
the question.
joke, and I need to give my answer.
Yes, it is.
We'll let the Attorney General respond, and then the gentleman can move to his
Chairman,
next question.
it's my time.
Within 40 minutes, you asked me a question.
You
Within
can give me-
40 minutes, Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes
You
of me catching you red-handed.
Red hand, there was one redaction out
Where
of
he's
over
listed as a
4,700,
co-conspirator.
and
Okay.
we invited
You know what?
you
Show the
in.
video.
This guy has Trump derangement syndrome.
Yes.
You're a failed politician.
Gentlemen,
You need to
I
get
want
on
you
to
these
watch the
matters.
Mr. Chairman, please restore his time and remind the witness of the rules here.
There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals.
Is that your position as well?
My position is any victim who comes forward, of course, we would love to hear from them. 1-800-CALL-FBI. Did you ask Merrick Garland that the last 4 years? Did you talk about Epstein?
I am
at
reclaiming
all
my
the
time.
last
I'm glad
4
you're
years?
asking about Merrick Garland.
You don't get to reclaim
because
time
this
when
is
you don't-
bigger
when
than
you
Watergate.
when I don't answer a question the
This
way you
goes
want.
over 4 administrations.
Wow.
You don't have to go back to Biden. Let's go back to Obama. Let's go back to George Bush. This cover-up spans decades, and you are responsible for this portion of it.
And that's
Now,
where the
I want to
most
know at
transparent-
what point did the FBI and the DOJ decide that Lex Wessner was not a co-conspirator? Because our Epstein Files Transparency Act requires you, please put it back on the screen, please, to release the internal decision about whether to prosecute him or not, and it's not in the files, and it's not in the files for any of these other men.
Time of the gentleman has
Which,
expired.
may she answer?
So what he's saying is that when he and another governor, I believe the governor of LA or California, went to look at the files. So they, I think, spent 2 hours. I should bring that up. 2 hours, and they got names. And they wanted those names to be redacted, meaning they wanted the names to be shown, to be revealed to the public. And I think it was 6 names. There were Les Wexner and Secretary Lutwick, and I believe a sultan from Arab and some other people. So they got that done, and this is what he's talking about. When he found that this name was not redacted, he brought it forth to the Attorney General, and they released it.
And he's a hypocrite because he voted against the ban that we were talking about on deep fake AI porn. Only 2 people voted against it, and you were one of them, hypocrite.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman,
Mr. Chairman, could she answer the question?
Chairman, I was wondering,
The gentlelady's allowed, the Attorney General's allowed to respond the way she wants to respond to any member's questions, Republican, Democrat.
All right, I have unanimous consent request.
Gentleman's recognized for a UC.
All right, this is an example. I'm submitting these 302
Wow.
forms that are entirely redacted. Even when you go to look at them.
Without objection.
I'm submitting a witness statement that implicates Les Wexner.
Without objection.
I'm submitting an article from the New York Times that the DOJ released nude photos and
Without objection.
identifiable pictures of the victims. I'm submitting a letter from A.G. Bondi to Cash Patel, imploring him to quit keeping the files when you found out that they were keeping files from you, because they're still redacting files that you.
Chairman, are we going to
Out of
recess for votes?
Yes, we are.
I'm submitting for unanimous consent a document of 17 individuals who've resigned because of the Epstein files.
Without objection. just want to check on how much time we have left in votes, but one thing I've learned here of late that don't wait on us. How much time do we have? Oh, they just called me. Okay. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Maryland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to start by saying I appreciate what you said.
Can you be a travel advisor without quitting your 9 to 5?
This is
Actually,
really long.
yes. We're Fora, the modern travel agency, and we
Of every member of Congress seriously, and that people can contact you about that. And in these times, that's a very serious matter. So I thank you for that. Article 2, Section 1, Clause 7 of the Constitution is the Domestic Emoluments Clause. And it says that the president is limited to his salary in office and cannot receive any other money from the federal government while he's in office. It cannot be increased by $1. This president is the first president in U.S. history. We've seen all kinds of evidence of crimes. And when we go over to the Department of Justice for the 4 computers for every member of Congress, we see more evidence of crimes. Will you create a joint task force of the Department of Justice and governors and state attorney generals and district attorneys across the country to investigate the crimes that have taken place against these victims and more than 1,000 like them? The DOJ is not doing its job. Will you create a task force with state and local law enforcement to make that happen?
That's a good question. Let me hear what she has to say.
That lady can respond. She wants to.
Thank you, Chairman. He called Chase Mulligan a wild goose chase and didn't even know who he was. He is a defendant in your own district who preyed on girls.
Mr. Chairman.
Well, you know what? If he were part of the Epstein investigation, you wouldn't do anything about it.
Online chat rooms and committed sextortion. Yet he didn't even know in your tiny little district who he
Mr. Chairman,
was.
she's embarrassing you.
He's about to be
This is your
fined.
committee, and she is embarrassing
Shame
you.
on you.
Time of the gentleman has expired. I would remind the committee that last Congress, Secretary Mayorkas was here numerous times, and he wouldn't answer our questions, even when we sent them to him ahead of time in writing. So that's what we've had to deal with. I think the Attorney General is doing just fine. We have votes shortly. I will go to the gentleman from Virginia, and then we will take a break to head to the floor.
I thank the chairman, Attorney General Bondi. Thank you for being here, and I wanted to thank you for your work at DOJ in restoring the rule of law, encouraging transparency surrounding Jack Smith's partisan investigations into President Trump, declassifying information about the Russia collusion hoax, cracking down on sanctuary jurisdictions, and establishing the National Fraud Enforcement Division. Let me first go to securing the border and immigration enforcement. Our new governor.
Congressman, that's pending litigation right now.
It is, and I hope
Yes,
you would
and I can't
reconsider. You would reconsider that. I yield back.
Gentleman, yield.
I yield to the chairman.
I think that Attorney General Bondi, why did Jack Smith have to pay some secret source $20,000 of taxpayer money? Do you know the answer to that?
I can't discuss anything on that matter, but that's a good question, Chairman Jordan.
Well said. It's a good question because he subpoenaed just about every Republican in this town, got half the Congress's phone numbers if you were a Republican. But he has to pay some secret source a bunch of taxpayer money. We'd like to know, the committee would like to know, how many other sources he paid? Was it more than $20,000? Why he had to do those things? We'd like to know when you can, if you could get that information to the committee. I think when you think about the guy who was trying to put the President of the United States in prison, ridiculous as that whole thing was, we kind of like to know the answer to that if you could. And with that, we're going to stand in recess. We will go as quickly as we can and vote. We have 2 quick votes on the floor, and we will be back. There is actually our members, and since you're back here, you can.
All right, guys. So that's it for me. Thank you for joining in. As I said, this was just House Judiciary Committee meeting this morning with Attorney General Pam Bondi. She did not indicate the sweeping new documents released during this hearing. Okay. What I have to say is, to end it all off, at the end of the day, today's hearing didn't just close the book on the Epstein files. It did not. And I want to see justice. But as you guys know, these documents were used during Epstein's trial. Okay, and this doesn't prove that it could be used against, I don't know, you tell me if this could be used against people who were on the list. Because remember, the people that were on the list, you have no proof that they were in any sort of crime. Okay? This hearing, however, reflects a larger issue. Why does the Epstein case still feel unresolved and is in the public mind? It feels unresolved because there were kids. There were kids that died. There were kids that were SA. You know, even years later, people are across party lines questions. Who knew what? We want to know who knew what, who was involved. Why does it feel like the powerful always escape full exposure? You know, a lot of women and a lot of people want justice. What stood out to me wasn't just what was said, but what wasn't said. And there is still no clear roadmap for the future disclosures. And when the public senses hesitation, it fuels speculation. Since you focus on geopolitical accounts teams, you could, get my understanding of where it is that I am coming from. At the end of the day, today's hearing did not close on the book on Epstein's files. It reminded us why the story still refuses to go away, and I don't think it'll go away just like that. Once it is aired out, constantly spoken of, it just wakes a lot of people up. And the question isn't just about documents, it's about trust. What do you think? What do you think? Could you write something on the comment and let me know what you think, and we will go from there. I just want to say thank you for joining me and have a great day. If God bless, God be for you, who could be against you?